In a speech that decried religious extremism generally last month, I believe, the Prime Minister recently stated that anyone insulting Islam or its prophet will be punished according to the law. So again, this goes back to, if we look at other places in South Asia, how blasphemy laws have been used, again, to be weaponized against religious minorities, and the Prime Minister saying that anyone insulting Islam or the Prophet will be punished according to the law is somewhat, troublesome for people who are watching from the outside. Further, Hifazat Islam, which is the pressure group that I was talking about, the Islamist pressure group, recently hosted a Thanksgiving event for the Prime Minister to honor her government's policy recognizing certain madrasa degrees as equivalent to master's degrees in non-religious universities and colleges. Some critics did see that the Prime Minister went to this Thanksgiving event with a group that's known to have sort of hardline Islamist views and saw that as a means of drumming up electoral support among religiously conservative sections of the population. As I mentioned, the elections are right around the corner, so going to an event that's a Thanksgiving event between this group and the Prime Minister might help sort of get some votes in the voter bank. Further, in the past years, Hifazat has demanded alterations to school curriculum, some of which were put in place by the Hasina administration eventually. Now, moving from these connections of these extremist Islamist groups with political parties, I think one major trend that impacts not only religious communities, but all citizens in Bangladesh is land scarcity. In a country that's the size of the state of Iowa, there's 160 million people. I'm going to say that one more time. In the size of the state of Iowa, that's the landmass we're talking about, there's 160 people. So land disputes have become major issues, especially in the Chittagong Hill Tracts area, where there's a lot of indigenous groups who live there and who are being attacked and their land is being taken. Non-Muslim groups have reported that their private property as well as religious property, and in Bangladesh there are actually trusts set up for each religious group to have protected property as a trust property for that religious group. Some of those lands are actually being encroached upon or completely stolen by people belonging to what they call land mafias or people with political connections. I think these issues will all probably continue to pose challenges to the new ruling regime that's going to come in power in early 2019, some of which are very structural and institutional and will require structural and institutional changes, which is I think some of what John was talking about, that the US Congress should be encouraging those institutional changes, and not to think sort of in the short term, but to think long term, because a lot of these problems that I've described have persisted in the long term. So we have to think of that way on the hillside. And then we'll have questions later on. That's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Morris. Laura?